Before the war that shook the heavens, before the Thunderbolt became the symbol of divine rule, before the rise of Zeus and the fall of the Titans, there was a prophecy, a whisper carried through time, born from the deepest wounds of the cosmos, a warning destined to topple kings and carve the future of the world. This is the story of the moment everything changed, the moment fear entered the heart of a Titan, the moment fate chose its path. The events of this episode come primarily from Hesiod's Theogony, one of the oldest surviving Greek mythological texts. It describes the genealogy of the gods, the cosmic struggles between Titans and Olympians, and the ancient prophecies that shaped their destinies. The prophecy against Kronos is not just a myth, it is the foundation of the entire Greek divine narrative. 1. Kronos, the youngest Titan. When the universe was still young, power belonged to the Titans, the mighty children of Gaia, the earth, and Uranus, the sky. But their father, Uranus, ruled with fear. He imprisoned his children within Gaia's depths, trapping them in darkness and pain. It was the youngest Titan, Kronos, sharp-minded, ambitious, who answered Gaia's plea to overthrow the tyrant. With a sickle forged from the earth itself, Kronos struck Uranus, ending the reign of the sky and beginning the age of the Titans. He became Lord of the cosmos, ruling beside his sister wife, Rhea. But the wound he inflicted upon his father would echo through time in a prophecy that would haunt him forever. 2. The prophecy of vengeance. As Uranus fell, broken and bleeding, he spoke words that chilled Kronos' heart. You too will be overthrown by your own child, just as you have betrayed me. This was not merely a curse, it was a divine prophecy, inevitable, unbreakable, woven into the very fabric of fate. Gaia repeated the prophecy. The world itself spoke against Kronos. And so, from the first moment of his reign, the new king of the cosmos lived in terror. 3. Kronos' descent into paranoia. Power brings fear. Fear brings cruelty. Kronos, frightened by the future, determined that the prophecy would never come true. When Rhea bore their first child, Hestia, Kronos took no chances. As the newborn entered the world, warm and crying, Kronos swallowed her whole. Rhea screamed, begging him to stop, but Kronos' fear was stronger than mercy. When Demeter was born, he devoured her as well. Then Hera, Hades, and Poseidon. One by one, each child vanished into the abyss of Kronos' stomach, trapped in eternal darkness as time devoured creation. Kronos believed he had beaten destiny, but prophecies are not so easily undone. 4. Rhea's anguish. Rhea, mother of gods, wandered the world in mourning. Each time she felt life move within her, she knew its fate was sealed. Each time she labored and cried out, she knew the child would be taken. Her grief became known to Gaia, who once again rose against her own son. Gaia understood what Rhea understood, that the world required change, growth, evolution, and Kronos, consumed by paranoia, held the cosmos in stagnation. Rhea determined that her next child would not be swallowed. He would live. In secret, Rhea retreated to the island of Crete. There, in a sacred cave hidden by mountains, she gave birth to Zeus, the child who would one day reshape all existence. Gaia held the infant. Rhea kissed his forehead, and together they formed a plan that would alter the course of eternity. Rhea returned to Kronos, carrying a stone wrapped in cloth, the shape, weight, and cry mimicking a newborn child. Kronos, blinded by fear and instinct, swallowed the stone without hesitation. He believed the threat was gone. He believed he had beaten fate. But in the shadows of Crete, protected by divine spirits, the last son of Rhea grew stronger every day. The prophecy had begun. The prophecy against Kronos reflects several key themes in Greek mythology. 1. Cycles of power. Greek mythology sees rulership as a repeating cycle. Uranus, Kronos, Zeus. Every generation replaces the last. 2. Fear of fate. Kronos' attempts to escape fate only ensured its fulfillment. In Greek thought, resisting destiny tightens its grip. 3. Time devours all. Kronos symbolizes time, and the idea that time destroys everything it creates, even its own children. 4. Birth of hope. Zeus's survival represents renewal, the promise of a new world order, and the idea that tyranny cannot last. And so begins the long path to war. The prophecy has taken root. A forbidden child grows in silence, and Kronos, unaware, believes he reigns unchallenged. But destiny has awakened. The cosmos has chosen its champion, and soon the devoured gods will rise again. In the next chapter of Titanomachy, we follow the hidden childhood of Zeus and the first steps toward a rebellion that would shake the heavens. Rest now, as the ancient world prepares for the war that will define eternity. Before Olympus arose above the clouds, before the Thunderbolt became a symbol of power, there was a child hidden in the shadows of a mountain cave, a child born into fear, protected by secrecy, and destined to challenge a tyrant. This is the untold childhood of Zeus, the god who would one day reshape the fate of the cosmos. A mother's desperate decision. Kronos ruled the world with absolute authority. Every corner of creation trembled beneath his will. But behind his power lived a single fear, the prophecy that one of his own children would overthrow him. To prevent it, Kronos swallowed each newborn the moment they entered the world. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon all vanished into his stomach, trapped in silent darkness. Rhea, exhausted by grief and betrayal, could not watch another child disappear. When she became pregnant for the 6th time, she made a choice that would change the future of the gods. In the silence of night, she fled to the island of Crete. Far from the Titans' watching eyes, she prepared to deliver the child the prophecy had spoken of, a child she refused to lose. The cave that hid a god. High in the rugged mountains of Crete lay a sacred cavern. Some traditions call it the Cave of Ida. Others speak of the Cave of Dicte. Both describe a place hidden from time itself, a sanctuary where even Titans hesitated to look. Here, in the cradle of stone and shadow, Zeus took his first breath. Rhea wrapped his son in soft linen, kissed his forehead, and entrusted him to the mountain spirits. She knew she could not stay. If Kronos discovered her absence, he would search the earth until he found the child. Before leaving, she crafted a deception. She swaddled a stone in baby cloth and placed it into Kronos' hands. Blinded by fear, he swallowed the stone whole, never realizing the prophecy was still alive. Amalthea, the sacred guardian. Within the cave, the newborn Zeus did not remain alone. Rhea placed him in the care of Amalthea, a gentle, divine creature often depicted as a radiant goat. Her milk nourished him. Her warmth shielded him from the cold winds of the mountain. Her presence kept him alive. From her broken horn would one day come the legendary cornucopia, the horn of endless abundance. But for now, her only purpose was simple: protect the child who carried the fate of gods within him. The curates, the clashing shield guard. Even with Amalthea's care, the cave was not silent. The cries of an infant could draw danger. To conceal every sound Zeus made, Rhea summoned the curates, warrior priests devoted to guarding sacred mysteries. Clad in bronze armor, they danced in a rhythmic circle around the cave. Spears struck shields, shields struck stone. Their echoing cadence filled the mountainside. Every cry from the infant god was swallowed by the clashing bronze. Every breath he took was wrapped in a wall of sound. The curates did not merely guard his life, they guarded the prophecy. The mountain child. Away from Kronos, Zeus grew under the open sky. He ran through the forests, learned the voices of the wind, and felt the pulse of thunder sleeping beneath the earth. The nymphs of the mountain taught him calm and wisdom. The spirit taught him endurance. The land itself seemed to shape him. There were moments when power flickered around him, a spark in the air, a vibration in the clouds, a tremor in the stone beneath his feet. He was still a child, but destiny was already awake inside him. The first shadow of destiny. As Zeus approached adulthood, the world around him changed. Storms grew stronger, the Titans grew restless, and from somewhere deep inside Kronos a disturbance stirred, a whisper of power returning to the world. Zeus felt the pull of something greater, a calling that reached beyond the mountains, beyond the cave of his childhood, and straight into the heart of the prophecy. The moment was coming when he could no longer hide. The swallowed gods were waiting. The earth itself was waiting. And Zeus was ready to step into the role fate had written for him. Soft ending for voice AI. In the quiet mountains of Crete, a child born in fear became a force waiting to awaken. Guarded by spirits, nurtured by a divine protector, and shielded by warriors of bronze, Zeus grew into the one hope the world had left. But childhood is only the beginning. The time to challenge Kronos is approaching, and the first sparks of war are beginning to glow. The path to Titanomachy has just begun.
There is a moment in every great story when silence breaks and the world shifts forever. For ages, the children of Kronos lay trapped in darkness, stolen at birth and swallowed before they could take their first breath. But destiny does not sleep, and rebellion often begins with a single quiet decision. This is the turning point, the moment Zeus chooses to confront the father who tried to erase him from existence. Before the uprising, Kronos ruled the cosmos with a grip so tight that even the stars seemed to hold their breath. He was powerful, paranoid, and endlessly haunted by the prophecy that one of his children would overthrow him. Every birth brought him fear, and every fear led him to the same terrible act, devouring each newborn the moment they cried. Hestia, swallowed. Demeter, swallowed. Hera, swallowed. Hades, swallowed. Poseidon, swallowed. A generation of gods disappeared into his stomach, their voices silent, their futures stolen. Yet deep within that darkness, something impossible happened. They endured, they waited, they listened for a sign. Far away on the island of Crete, Zeus grew in secret, nurtured by Amalthea, guarded by the Curetes. He became everything Kronos feared, strong, determined, and willing to challenge the order of the world. But strength alone was not enough. To defeat Kronos, Zeus needed wisdom. That wisdom came in the form of Metis, the Titaness of cunning thought. She understood prophecy, strategy, and the delicate art of striking at the right moment. Metis told Zeus the truth about his siblings, that they were still alive, trapped yet not destroyed, and if freed, they would stand beside him. So she crafted a plan. A potion, bitter, ancient, powerful enough to force Kronos to release what he had swallowed ages ago. Zeus descended from Crete with purpose. He approached Kronos not with fury, but with calm resolve, the kind that emerges only when someone understands their role in destiny. Kronos did not recognize him. Why would he? The child he had tried to devour was supposed to be dead. Zeus served him the potion, disguised as a drink meant to honor the Titan king. The moment Kronos swallowed it, the world trembled. A heavy silence broke, and then came the sound of struggle, a deep, violent heave from within the ruler of the cosmos. One by one, the gods Kronos consumed began to rise again. First came Hestia, the eldest, carrying the warmth of a hearth that had never been extinguished. Then Demeter, calm and steadfast, her presence blooming like early spring. Next, Hera, fierce, proud, already radiating the authority she would one day wield as Queen of Olympus. Then Hades, silent and intense, shaped by years in total darkness. Finally, Poseidon, unbroken, bearing the tidal strength he would one day command. They emerged as adults, fully formed, powerful, awakened. For the first time since their births, all 6 siblings stood together, a reunion forged not by peace, but by survival. And they turned their eyes toward Zeus, the youngest, the one who freed them, the one destiny had chosen. In that moment, the Olympians realized something profound. They were no longer victims. They were heirs to a stolen future. Together, they swore an oath, not of revenge, but of justice. The age of Kronos would end, and a new order would rise in its place. Hades spoke first, promising to use the shadows he had endured. Poseidon vowed to command the restless seas. Hera pledged her loyalty to her younger brother's cause. Demeter offered the growth of the earth itself. Hestia promised calm, unity, and an unbroken flame. And Zeus, he promised thunder. The sky seemed to acknowledge him. News of the rebellion spread quickly. The Titans prepared for conflict, while the newly freed Olympians gathered on Mount Olympus, a mountain that would soon become the center of a new divine world. But before the war could truly begin, the siblings needed allies. They needed weapons. They needed the forces that had once terrified even the Titans. This leads to the next chapter of the saga, the liberation of the Cyclopses and the 100-handed ones, and the forging of the weapons that would shake the universe. The Thunderbolt, the Trident, the Helm of Invisibility. But that is a story for part 4. The moment Zeus freed his siblings marked the first spark of hope in an age ruled by fear. A spark that would ignite a war spanning gods, titans, and the foundation of the world itself. And now, with the 6 Olympians united at last, the true Titanomachy is about to begin. Stay with this story. The war for the cosmos is only just awakening.
Long before the world took its final shape, before the sky glowed with thunder, before the sea roared beneath a trident, and before shadows could wrap themselves around a god, there existed a silence so deep it felt eternal. But within that silence lay forces bound in darkness. For ages they remained hidden, forgotten, feared, and sealed away. 3 giants with 100 hands each, and 3 brothers with a single blazing eye. Their power was unimaginable, their imprisonment was absolute, and their freedom would change the fate of every god and every titan. This is the moment the balance of the cosmos finally shifted. This is the story of the Cyclopes and the Hecatonchyres, and the forging of the weapons that reshaped destiny itself. In the deepest reaches of existence lies a place where light cannot endure. A pit so ancient, so silent, that even the gods feared to speak its name. This was Tartarus, a realm beneath the underworld, a prison designed not for mortals, but for beings capable of splitting mountains and shaking the earth with a single breath. It was here that the Cyclopes and the Hecatonchyres had been confined. Not by choice, not by fate, but by the cruelty of those who feared their strength. Uranus, the Sky Father, had cast them down first. 3 one-eyed brothers, Brontes, Steropes, and Argus, each with the skill to forge wonders and the might to create destruction. Alongside them, 3 monstrous siblings, Kotos, Briareus, and Gyges, the Hecatonchyres, each born with 100 powerful arms and 50 heads, creatures whose presence alone could terrify even the proudest Titan. They were not monsters by deed. They were merely too powerful to be allowed freedom. And so they waited, buried in a darkness without end. Countless years passed. Stone walls grew around them like a second skin. Their breath heated the air like the core of the earth. Their anger simmered like molten metal. The world above changed. Titans rose. Mortals had not yet been imagined, and a prophecy whispered through creation. But within Tartarus, time meant nothing. Until the day footsteps echoed upon the stone. Zeus, young but resolute, had learned the truth of the imprisoned beings. His victory over Kronos meant nothing if he fought alone. The Titans were ancient, vast, and relentless. Their domain was established long before the Olympians' first breath. Zeus understood one thing clearly. To defeat the Titans, he needed power greater than theirs. And so he traveled downward,
far below the roots of mountains, past the shadows of the underworld, into the ancient and forgotten heart of creation. Every step toward Tartarus felt like moving into another age. Walls tightened around him. Heat gnawed at his skin. The air trembled with something unspoken, as if even the stones whispered warnings. But Zeus pressed on. He reached a colossal gate of black iron, sealed by the will of Uranus and strengthened by Kronos himself. When he touched it, sparks danced, the metal trembled, thunder rolled softly in his chest. The Cyclopes sensed a presence, not a titan, not a jailer, but a force unlike any they had ever felt. With a surge of power, Zeus shattered the bonds that held them. The gate exploded in a burst of energy brighter than the sun. Brontes, Steropes, and Arges emerged with eyes glowing like burning coals. Their bodies radiated heat. Their arms were thick like pillars of mountains. They stared at Zeus with a mixture of curiosity and recognition, a sense that fate had waited long for this moment. One of them spoke, Argus, his voice echoing like a volcano awakening. "You are the one who will break the order of the Titans." Zeus nodded, but said nothing. He did not need to. The Cyclopes could feel destiny moving around him like a storm. For the first time in ages, the Cyclopes entered their forge, an immense cavern filled with rivers of molten metal, hammer anvils the size of boulders, and braziers burning with eternal fire. They began their work not with tools, but with the power within themselves. Brontes struck his hand against stone. Sparks erupted into a cascade of brilliance. Steropes ignited metal with a single breath. Argus shaped raw energy with his fingertips, weaving threads of lightning as if they were strands of silk. They forged a weapon unlike any other, a bolt of pure thunder. A shard of the sky sharpened into a spear, a storm bound into physical form. When they placed it in Zeus's hand, the cavern dimmed as if bowing. The Cyclopes spoke as one. "With this you command the storm. With this you change the fate of gods." Zeus lifted the bolt, and for an instant the world above flickered with brilliant light. But the Cyclopes were not yet finished. For Poseidon they crafted a trident so sharp it could split the sea and shake the earth's crust. Its 3 prongs glowed blue and silver, swirling with the power of the deep. For Hades they created a helm that bent light and shadow, granting him the power to vanish from sight and move unseen through the realms of the living and the dead. These gifts were not weapons of simple destruction. They were instruments of dominion, tools that aligned each brother with his future realm. Poseidon would command the oceans. Hades would rule the underworld. Zeus would take the sky. The Cyclopes bowed, not in submission, but in solidarity. "Together you can stand against Kronos." Deep behind the forge lay another prison, vast, ancient, sealed tighter than the first. Here the Hecatonchires waited in suffocating stillness. Zeus broke their chains with a single strike of lightning. The blast shook Tartarus itself.
the three giants rose, each towering like a living mountain, each arm twitching with restrained fury. Their voices were storms trapped inside caverns. They knelt before Zeus, not because he commanded it, but because for the first time someone had freed them. Their oath would become the turning point of the war. Storms did not simply arrive in the ancient world. They were born. Born from a conflict so vast that mountains trembled, oceans recoiled, and the very sky learned what it meant to roar. Long before mortals carved stories into stone, the heavens carried the memory of a war that reshaped existence itself. A war fought not for land nor wealth, but for the right to rule creation. Tonight, we drift back to that age of upheaval, when every breath of wind hinted at rebellion, and thunder was no mere sound, but the heartbeat of a rising god. This is the story of the 10-year war, the clash between Titans and Olympians, a conflict etched into the bones of the cosmos. For centuries, the Titans ruled the cosmos under the reign of Kronos. When Zeus rose to challenge his father, the universe split in two. To the north stood Mount Olympus, bright and crowned with storm clouds. To the south loomed Mount Othrys, ancient, heavy, carved with the authority of the old gods. No peace could exist between them. The Olympians demanded freedom and justice. The Titans demanded obedience and tradition. The world became a fault line, its valleys, seas, and skies trembling as two powers prepared for war. The opening strike did not come from a weapon, but from a call. Zeus lifted his voice, and the sky cracked open. The cry echoed across the mountains, rolled down through valleys, and made the air tremble, as if existence itself were listening. From Othrys the Titans answered. Their roar was deeper, older, like the grinding of tectonic plates. Storm met stone. Light met shadow. Two ages of gods collided. The Titans charged first. Chaos with the spear of the unseen heavens. Iapetus, relentless as fate. Hyperion, blazing like a living sunrise. And among them, flawless in might, stood Atlas, the unbreakable pillar of their army. The Olympians countered with youthful fire, Hera with her regal defiance, Demeter with the strength of the living earth, Hestia with the calm flame of endurance, Hades cloaked in shadows, Poseidon wielding seas restless for war, and Zeus, thunder swelling in his grip. The first year ended not in victory, but in awakening. The world now knew what kind of war had begun. The Titans moved first. Hyperion, lord of heavenly light, rose above the battlefield like a burning comet. Under his command, rays of fire rained down, splitting forests and scorching rivers dry. The Olympians struggled. They were young gods, still learning the strength of immortality. But Zeus countered with storms so violent that lightning carved patterns across the sky. Cloud and fire dueled above the earth, two heavens fighting for precedence. Neither would yield. Poseidon realized something critical. The sea had been silent too long. He struck the ground with his trident. Rivers rose in rebellion. Waves surged inland with divine force, pulling whole cliffs into the surf. Oceanus, eldest of the sea titans, rose from the deep to confront him. His presence dwarfed the tide, his voice echoing like millions of storms. The duel shook the coasts of the world. Mountains near the shore cracked, islands split, the sea boiled between them. Though Poseidon held his ground, Oceanus did not fall. But the Titans learned something troubling. The sea was no longer theirs. War is heavy. War is endless. War leaves marks even gods cannot erase. Gaia, mother of all, began to ache. Her mountains groaned under the weight of armies. Her forests burned with every divine strike. Her rivers bled into seas swelling with wrath. She pleaded with both sides to end the destruction. Neither listened. Zeus was consumed by destiny. Kronos was consumed by fear, and Gaia began to withdraw her blessings. The crops of Demeter weakened. Creatures of the wild hid or fled. Even the Titans, born of her soil, felt her sorrow. But war had gained too much momentum. There was no stopping it now. Wars among gods are not fought only with weapons. They are fought with alliances, secrets, and betrayals. Prometheus and Epimetheus, sons of the Titan Iapetus, had watched the conflict with troubled hearts. Their loyalty to the Titan cause wavered. Prometheus, sharp-minded and forward-seeing, spoke quietly to Zeus, and Zeus listened. Though the details remain veiled in myth, ancient whispers suggest a pact was formed, a promise of future freedom, or perhaps knowledge yet to come. The Titans felt the shift. Trust began to crumble. Every army weakens when doubt becomes a soldier. The middle of the war saw one of its most brutal battles, the fight at the plain of Phlegra. Titans marched like avalanches. Olympians fought like storms. The earth split under their feet. Atlas led the charge, his power so immense that the ground cracked with every step. He hurled mountains like stones. He shattered divine armor with his bare hands. But Zeus met him head-on. Thunder ripped the clouds apart as lightning converged around the young king. The battle lasted days. Neither could overpower the other, but both armies felt the weight of their clash. Deep beneath the world, behind gates forged of despair, the Hecatoncheires stirred. Zeus had freed them, but controlling them was another matter. Each had 100 hands and a fury older than the Titans themselves. One night their roars split the deep. Tartarus quaked, the walls shook. It was a sign. The time to unleash them was approaching. The Titans felt the shift. Even Kronos' confidence began to crack. Kronos had ruled longer than Zeus had existed. He was not helpless. He was not afraid, not openly. This year he unleashed the full might of the elder gods. Coeus, Titan of inquiry and intellect, devised strategies that outmaneuvered the Olympians. Krios, the ram-horned warrior, charged with unstoppable force. Hyperion blazed hotter than ever, turning battlefields into mirrors of rising dawn. The Olympians suffered heavy blows. Hades was nearly sealed in shadow. Poseidon was hurled into the sea with such force that waves swallowed entire coastlines. Even Zeus staggered. For a moment, victory seemed to tilt toward Othrys, but fate was not on their side. The Olympians began to grow into their domains. Hades mastered the unseen. His presence became a whisper of inevitability. Shadows obeyed him. Fear fell under his command.